everybody. Good evening, North Dakotans, and welcome to my very first telephone town hall. I'm really honored and excited that you're here and joining me tonight to have a really good conversation about the many exciting things that are going on in Washington and things in North Dakota as well. We had more than 3,000 people sign up for our town hall tonight, so really pleased with that turnout. Before we get started, I want to make a couple housekeeping comments. First of all, if you want to ask a question, you can hit *3 to get in line. You'll be connected with one of my staff members who will take your name and a couple other things, and we'll put you in line to ask your question. Secondly, if you would like to be in touch with my office more frequently, you can subscribe to my monthly newsletter. You can do that tonight by pressing *6. Then you can also follow my kind of daily and weekly events by following my official Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter feeds at Rep Fedorchak. So those are some of the housekeeping events items tonight. Again, *3 if you want to ask a question. We have about an hour for conversation tonight, and we want to make sure to use that full hour and get as many questions asked and answered as we possibly can. I'll be giving timing updates throughout to let you know how much time we have, because we do want to make sure to ask as many questions as possible. So just as a little bit of an update, I want to tell you what I've been up to as your representative in Congress for the last 3 months. And I thought I'd start by talking a little bit about today, because today was a really interesting and exciting day, and it was very full. I started this morning by meeting with all 7 of the CEOs that operate our national electric grids. Had each one of them for one-on-one meetings in my office, really to talk about the important policies we need to be implementing in our country to make sure we have a reliable, affordable electric grid to serve as the backbone for our economy and to keep our communities safe, especially communities like those in North Dakota, where we have really difficult weather at many times throughout the year. Followed by those meetings, I had a hearing with the Energy and Commerce Committee that I serve on. There was an energy subcommittee hearing, and all of those grid operators were our guests at that hearing. That was also a very productive hearing. We talked a lot about what we need to be doing to make sure we have the right resources on our grid to maintain reliability and to maintain that reliability at an affordable cost to all of our citizens. After that, I came back to the office here. I'm in my office, so hopefully sometime if you're in DC, you can join me here. I came here and met with 3 different groups from North Dakota. That was exciting and interesting. Always talked about highway investments, highway dollars, highway money, and healthcare, some healthcare issues. And after that, I had the honor with my husband, Mike, to go over to the White House and meet with President Trump. That was my first time in what people call in DC, they refer to the Oval Office as the Oval. That was my first time in the Oval. And it was great. I had a chance to visit directly with President Trump. I thanked him for his support. I thanked him for his courage to tackle many of the biggest issues that our country is facing and to tackle them bravely and boldly, things that have long been ignored by many, many leaders for decades, some things that we've never tackled in my lifetime, like the budget, like the out of control spending, like the federal agencies that are growing with really, no one holding them back, the borders, other things that he's tackled. So I had a chance to thank him for his leadership. And then I invited him to come to North Dakota and meet with our farmers this summer. And he pledged that he would think about doing that. And then finally, I thanked him for appointing Doug Burgum, our former governor, to head the Interior Department. And I left my one with a packet of North Dakota treats. Some of our favorite are these chippers. I brought some to the White House, but unfortunately, they were confiscated by the Secret Service. So hopefully they will eventually get to the president so he can enjoy them. Who doesn't love chocolate chippers? So that was just an example of some of the things I'm doing in Washington on your behalf. I'm really honored to be serving on the Energy Commerce Committee. That committee gives me a chance to work on energy issues, healthcare issues, and many other things that are of vital importance to North Dakotans. I'm also working hard, even though I'm not on the Ag Committee, I'm working hard with the leaders of our Ag Committee to make sure we're pushing for a farm bill this year before the planting season begins. I want our farmers to have some certainty before they head into this next growing season. So I'm pushing hard for that and have worked to schedule a Zoom meeting with the chair of the House Ag Committee, G.T. Thompson, and we'll be announcing that soon. So those are some of the things that are highlights, things that I'm working on. Thought I'd just start the conversation today with that. And otherwise, I think we'll just questions from you. Remember, if you want to get in line to ask a question, hit *3. I'll be counting on my staff now to tell me who our first question is. All right, we have a question from Jamie in Fargo, who wants to ask a question about Social Security.
Thank you for taking my call, Congresswoman Fedorchak. With all these cuts that are happening with Elon Musk and Doge, cuts for Social Security, for Medicaid, these are going to have a direct impact on North Dakota, where seniors are going to miss paychecks, where rural clinics and care centers are going to close. People really count on this, and it seems like it's all being cut or talked about being cut without any sort of rhyme or reason. And I have not seen or heard you step up to defend these important programs at all. In fact, you've supported what Elon Musk is doing. I'm curious, what are you going to do to protect North Dakotans from these draconian cuts that no one voted for anyone to do?
Well, thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that question, and I really appreciate the opportunity to talk about this and other issues like Medicaid tonight directly with North Dakotans. Most importantly, I want to ensure to you that Social Security is not being cut. It's not on the table for any cuts at all. In fact, in the budget reconciliation process that we are working on in Congress to help balance the budget and get our federal spending under control, Social Security is specifically prohibited from being part of those conversations for reductions. So we will not be cutting Social Security. And I want to be clear, and I was clear about this in my campaign. People pay into Social Security their whole working kids. My husband and I have 3 kids. They're already paying into Social Security. They deserve to get that money. It's their money. And I believe firmly in that. And I want to work my time as your representative in Congress to make sure that we reform these programs so that they are available for the long term to the people who have paid into them and to the people who deserve to have them. And so as it relates to Social Security, that is most specifically off the table. As it relates to Medicaid, also, we can talk more about that. I bet we'll have some questions about Medicaid specifically. But there are no efforts to reduce the amount of money or being spent on Medicaid. That what we're doing with Medicaid is trying to ensure that we are protecting it and preserving it for the future. So while we will, no matter how we lower the increases in Medicaid over time, we will be spending more money on Medicaid tomorrow than we're spending today. So there's been a lot of misinformation spread around about what's happening out here, especially as it relates to some of these really important safety net programs like Social Security and Medicaid. And I really appreciate the opportunity tonight to set the record straight and to make sure North Dakotans understand where I stand on those programs and what I'm doing to help preserve and protect them for the future. Okay, the next question is from Jacob, who is from Horace.
Hello. Hello?
Hi, Jacob. How are you?
Hi. I'm doing great, Julie Fedorchak. Great to hear from you. Right now, I'm having the opportunity to study some business. I'm at school in St. Louis right now, and it's a great opportunity to learn all about the macroeconomic environment. I'm a bit curious to pick your mind about what's happening currently with tariffs and the unstable regulatory environment. I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of managers and consultants, and all of them are very, 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 very scared about the long-term economic outlook. We're seeing a lot of economists commenting that there's a significantly increased certainty of rather probability of going into a recession. And I feel a lot of North Dakotans did vote for economic stability for another Trump term. I'd hate to see any economic consequence hit the larger economy, especially as many federal programs continue to diminish in strength that a lot of businesses are relying on. Hell, I'm hearing one example right now just in where I'm located where we're seeing federal cuts, and that's hurting nonprofits. It's hurting the business community who wants to expand within the area. I'm just wondering, how are we going to balance the dichotomy between making sure we have a more efficiently ran government and also making sure that a lot of the programs that were installed for what seem to be very good reasons continue to stay strong and provide resources to not only the national environment macroeconomically, but also to North Dakotans at home.
Thank you, Jacob. So is your question about how we're going to keep the economy strong while reducing government spending? Was that what you're asking
Well,
about?
Well, we're looking at a double-edged sword here, where if we want to make an argument that we're reducing federal spending, but also making the system more inefficient by having less staff at the IRS, having less Social Security offices open, that has massive consequences on the broader economy. You know, if we're not having our taxes filed, government can't collect revenue to make our social processes safer and more efficient. And if Social Security offices are being closed as they are nationally right now, seniors can't get their checks, and that reduces spending on a macroeconomic level. I'm deeply concerned about those things, and same thing with the managers I'm talking to all across the nation. I'm wondering what North Dakota is going to do to position themselves to make sure the money is spent effectively, but also make sure we're not cutting key benefits to our economy that benefits business people and the citizens of North Dakota alike.
Yeah, well, a couple thoughts on that. First of all, I think it's important to remember and to emphasize that during the election, 75% of Americans felt that our country was on the wrong track. And in North Dakota, 67% of North Dakotans voted for President Trump because they felt that his policies would help get us back on track. And 77 million Americans voted for President Trump for the very same reason, to get us back on track. President Trump was very clear about some of the policies he wanted to initiate to do that. Reining in waste, fraud, and abuse of the federal government was one of those things. And I'm very comfortable that we can do that. Well, not only just maintaining these essential government services, but improving them. One of the first things President Trump has done was to require all federal workers to come back into the office. Only 6% of the federal office buildings had been occupied prior to him being here. There was so many people working remotely from home. And so requiring federal workers to be back on site and accountable to their bosses, I think will ultimately help us have better government service. So while we will be doing our very best to root out wasteful government spending, to try to do more with less, I think the overall we will be providing better government service. So that's first of all. The other thing that we are going to be doing is by reducing government spending and trying to balance our federal budget, we will also be helping to drive down inflation. This out of control federal spending and our $36 trillion in federal debt is a huge drag on our economy. So we need to get that back under control. Maintaining the tax cuts that have helped drive the economy and help Americans keep more of their money in their own pocket, that will help avoid a significant, like a 25% increase in taxes for North Dakotans, that would amount to $2,500 per average North Dakotan increase if we don't maintain those tax cuts. That's another way to help our economy, keep our economy strong. And then finally, one of the biggest things, and the biggest things that I hear when I talk to businesses, whether it's farmers or the healthcare industry or manufacturers or just Main Street businesses, one of the biggest problems that they face is government regulations. The federal government regulations are really crushing our business community. And we need to roll those regulations back and let our businesses do what they do best without the heavy hand of the federal government holding them back. So those are some of the top priorities that we're working on that I think ultimately are going to have result in better government service, a less budget, a lower federal budget, less drag on our economy, and better growth of our business community. So I think that it'll end up being better, not worse for Americans. Right. Up, we have Rhonda from Bismarck. Rhonda, can you hear me? Hello? Okay, let's see.
Hello?
We're not. Oh, there we go. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi. Hi, Julie.
Hi there.
One of the things that has bothered, hi. Do you hear me?
I do, Rhonda. Yep. There might be a little delay, so
Okay.
sorry about that.
One of the things that has bothered me most at the beginning of this administration is that several of the things that Donald Trump has chosen to do are not things that we had voted for. One thing that disturbs me quite a bit is the treatment of our northern neighbors who are so vital to our state, not only in the tariffs, but in the continued insisting that they become the 51st state. Will anyone stand up to our president and tell him that Canada is important and to be recognized as a sovereign nation?
Well, thank you, Rhonda. I believe that we will always be good neighbors and great trading partners and great allies with our friends to the north in Canada. North Dakota has enjoyed an open border with Canada for years. We're the Peace Garden state, after all. And so, yes, we have a free flow of folks back and forth and commerce back and forth with our Canadian neighbors. And I do believe that that will always be the case. But again, going back to some of what I just talked to, I believe it was Jacob, about 75% of the country thought we were going in the wrong direction. President Trump was pretty clear about his focus on tariffs. In his efforts here, there's going to be disruption. There's no doubt going to be some disruption as we go down this path. My message to President Trump is that I hope that these tariffs are targeted and short term, so that they're intended to get some cooperation from Canada on some key things. There's two big things that we need to address with Canada. One of them, and with Mexico, quite honestly, one of them is the fentanyl traffic, the trafficking of fentanyl back across our border. Fentanyl abuse is one of our greatest dangers to our young people. It is killing a lot of Americans. We've lost more Americans to fentanyl deaths in the last 4 years than we lost in all of World War II. So we need to get a handle on that issue, and President Trump is very serious about that, and trying to get Canada to be more cooperative and tougher on that issue on the border. And the secondly is the trade imbalance, both with Canada and Mexico and with our other trading partners around the world. You know, people throughout the world have always wanted access to the American trade market. And we've been very free in giving people access to our market. While at the same time, many countries create both tariff and non-trade type barriers for our businesses to their markets. These are bad deals for America, and President Trump is trying to correct that. And like I said, there's going to be some disruption, but over time, this is going to help bring back more manufacturing, more economic development in our own country. We'll hopefully be able to supply ourselves with more of what we need, and will help correct that trade imbalance over time. I think the reciprocal tariffs are a very smart thing. It's only fair, and it's gonna help our business community long term. So I agree with you, Canada's a great neighbor. They're a great partner with us. And I'm comfortable and believe that long term we will continue to have that relationship with Canada. Okay, who do we have next? I think we have Tark. Oh, Tara, I'm sorry. I can't read my staff's writing. Tara from Mandan.
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay,
Hi,
great.
Tara.
Um, so a few things. I have to be honest, and I'm sure everyone here at this point wants a bit of honesty. The current administration is a shit show. Excuse the language, but he has absolutely destroyed the way that people look at America. He has turned on our allies. He's turned against Ukraine. And I don't know if you're aware, but North Dakota took in a lot of Ukrainians because of the Russian invasion into Ukraine. And just like the last person said, you know, he's threatening Canada, Mexico. The mass deportations have been proven that he is sending legal citizens out of this country. At this point, we need honesty and pushback with our representatives. We don't need you to be kissing this administration's butt. They are destroying America, and you are currently on the wrong side of history. And you need to stand up and realize morally and that in your soul that the things that are happening are wrong, and that you and your, you know, the other Congress, the other Senate, that they need to stand up against what is happening to the United States. A billionaire that was unelected is currently running this country.
Thank you, Tara. Appreciate your thoughts and comments. I do want to remind people that we have a wide variety of ages listening tonight, and so try to keep it respectful and proper language. But yes, I respectfully disagree. I just have to be honest. I disagree with you. I think President Trump is fighting some of the issues that have many of the issues that have long been ignored in our country. He is tackling issues like the border. We had a free flow of illegal people across our border for the last 4 years. I've met with North Dakota sheriffs who shortly after President Trump was elected were cheering the fact that when they came upon illegal immigrants in our own cities and called Border Patrol, they actually got them to respond and come and process them like they had for 40 years prior to the Biden administration. These are the laws that have been on the books in our country for decades. And the last administration just chose not to enforce them. And President Trump is enforcing them. We have got to get the folks who came to our country and don't want what's best for America, that are trafficking fentanyl, that are trafficking human beings, taking full advantage of folks. We have got to get on top of that and return security and safety into our communities. So that's one issue that President Trump is working on. He's working to negotiate better trade deals for us. He's working to bring peaceful resolutions to some of the worst conflicts in the world. He wants to end the war in Ukraine. He wants to end that. so thousands of people a day can stop dying. He wants to bring peace to the Middle East. He wants to root out terrorism. He wants to make it safe for our country, for people who love democracy throughout the world, and for the future of our kids. He wants to unleash American energy and development. That provides the basis for everything we do. We have to have reliable and affordable energy. And I know very well from my 12 years of experience as a public service commissioner that we were headed down a very dangerous, unsustainable path that would have left us extremely vulnerable. We wouldn't have been able to provide even basic utility services, electric services, in a reliable way for our citizens and for our businesses. These are just simple, basic things that our government has to do. And President Trump is laser focused on providing those things for the citizens of this country. He was duly elected in a fair election, won a clear majority of American support, and he's delivering on the agenda that he was elected to deliver on. So thank you for your question, your participation. Do we have some more? Excuse me, I need a drink. All right, we have Carrie from Mapleton.
Hi. Thank you for serving North Dakota as an elected official. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you this evening. My question is, how are you protecting our rural schools with Trump's executive order to end the Department of Education, which predominantly serves rural schools?
Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate that question and have been out to visit some of the rural schools in North Dakota already as your Congresswoman and look forward to doing that more. First of all, we all support teachers and education. That's a priority, should be a priority for anybody in elected office. And it's something that I'm very excited to support. Education is what changes lives. It helps educate folks for our workforce with the skills they need to help serve our state in the future. So we have to invest strongly in our education system. What President Trump is doing is one of those things that has long been talked about but never acted on, and that is returning control of education back to parents and schools, local school boards, and states, the state governor and the legislature. That's where education, the responsibility for education long belongs. He's been clear that, well, let me just back up for a second. Really what's happened with the education department at the federal level is they've collected money from taxpayers, they've taken a cut of it, and then they've sent it, after taking a cut of that money, they've sent it back to the schools to administer the dollars. What President Trump wants to do is eliminate the middleman. Let's just help support the states in the areas that we've promised to do so in the various title programs. But let's eliminate the middleman as much as we can and provide as much direct funding to the schools to use as best decided by our local educators and the leaders of our school system. I think that's ultimately going to result in higher standards, in better educated kids, and a better use of those dollars for better outcomes. So I think President Trump's approach is going to help create a stronger education system in our country and in our North Dakota schools. I've also talked to education leaders in North Dakota, and they said that folks are pretty darn excited about this effort because they know the bureaucratic red tape that they have to go to, all the strings that are attached to those federal dollars. And by eliminating those strings, they can put those dollars to use in the best way possible to meet the needs of our schools, our kids, and our teachers. So that seems like a win-win to me. I'm excited about this. I think by eliminating the federal standard, which ended up basically being a ceiling on education rather than a floor, let's eliminate that federal standard and let the states set a really high standard and challenge our kids to be the absolute best that they can be and to allow our teachers to help them get there. All right, we have Marty, Mark from Davenport. Marty, are you there? Hello, Marty.
Hi. Well, I'm sitting here and I'm afraid that I'm going to have to disagree with a lot of the things you have to say, but that's the way things work, and that's okay. But I really, really am disturbed about this drill baby drill that we're hearing all the time, and I know you have a lot of work that you've done with the energy department, but I guess my big concern, and I want to know exactly what you think about climate change, if you even believe in climate change. And I guess because I'm here to speak for those that can't speak for themselves, my passion is nature, wildlife. And what President Trump has done with the EPA, all these agencies that help protect our living species on the planet, we're getting to the point where we're going to be at a point of no return pretty soon if we don't stop burning the fossil fuels. And I don't know if you agree with the scientists, but everything that I read that I think is fact, and please don't call it fiction, because these are very highly intelligent, educated people that have looked into this. And they're saying that climate change, is not just from burning fossil fuels, but that is one of the problems, and it is one of the things that we as human beings can change. And so when I think of the millions of species that are threatened with extinction because of the climate change has changed their habitat, it's changed their food chain, it's disrupted their breeding patterns, the pollution in the water, the air, the solid waste, it causes diseases. They have to migrate outside of where they usually do in search of food or livable conditions. And the Endangered Species Act, which has been, the people of our country, I believe, love that act. And he is, one of his executive orders wants to empower a committee of his appointees, and they could effectively decide the fate of endangered species in the name of development. And the fact that EPA was bloated is probably true, but that doesn't mean that we have to gut it. And of course, the lawyers that represent the government, which is us, in cases involving pollution and crimes protecting wildlife, they've been fired or sent to different agencies. And again, the Interior Department, which manages our parks and public lands, and they're supposed to guard our public lands, which belong to us, the people, from profit-driven industries. But
Sure. Thank you, Marty. I'll jump in because I want to get to answer your question. It's an important one. So this is an area where I have spent a lot of time. 12 years. I worked as a state utility regulator and had, 12 years of conversations with my colleagues all across the country on energy policy and how American energy solutions are going to provide the solutions for our whole globe and our whole planet on this issue. So as it relates to emissions, there's no doubting that CO2 emissions have increased. That's just a fact. So I do not deny that. I acknowledge that. And I also acknowledge that our climate is changing. That has been the case since the beginning of time. North Dakota was at one point a tropical paradise, believe it or not. And that's what led to the development of ultimately our some of our fossil fuel resources in our geology. But with that said, and looking at that, I think this is an issue that is a global issue. We have to have solutions that impact the entire emissions situation internationally. And the fact is that American energy is the cleanest energy produced. We have I've had conversations in Congress with some of the people most opposite to me on the political spectrum. And that's the one thing we do agree with, that American energy is the cleanest energy on the planet. So then it lends itself to the next step of this solution is that American energy solutions are going to be the solutions for our planet. We have to have power. We have to have great energy, reliable, affordable energy to develop the solutions, the new technologies that are going to provide the solutions for our whole planet. This is all about pace. You and I might see the pace a little bit differently of this. Because I know we can't get too far ahead of things on our own. We can't jeopardize our existing energy systems before the technology exists to keep them reliable and affordable so that we can continue to be the leader in developing the solutions for our planet. We can be sure of one thing. Some of the other countries where a lot of energy is produced or a lot of manufacturing happens, like China, they don't have the same standards that we have. They aren't using their coal-fired power plants with the latest and greatest emissions technology, with the scrubbers that we have, with the reclamation processes that we have. They aren't doing that. And so our energy solutions are going to be needed to make sure that we have solutions for the whole planet. And that's where I'm working with colleagues across the aisle to try to develop bipartisan solutions, long-term energy policies that serve our country and help provide the solutions for this issue worldwide. So thank you for that question. Right? I can't read this, Kate. I'm sorry. Help. Heidi. I'm sorry. Heidi from Valley City. Sorry. Heidi, are you there?
Hi, this is Heidi. Hello.
Hi there. Hi, Heidi. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for your time, and it's a pleasure to speak with you. My question was, as a middle-class family, when will we see and how are we going to see some of that lowered cost of living, including healthcare? As a family of four, it's becoming more and more challenging, just to live. And we're starting to see higher cost of living with the new administration. What will you do to fight on our behalf of North Dakota families and citizens? Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Heidi. And as I've said earlier, as we get rolling, there's going to be some disruption as we work through some of these policies, but the long-term solutions, it took a long time to get where we're at, and it's going to take a little time to get the course corrected and get us going in the right direction. But just like, good health is sort of a long-term commitment and there's no silver bullet. There aren't silver bullet solutions to some of the problems and the biggest challenges that we face in our country. Some of this stuff is going to take decided action, strong leadership, and persistence over time. But one of them, I'm going to go through a list of things that I think are going to help drive down costs and make things better for hardworking families like yourselves, like my husband and mine, like many people in my family and friends across North Dakota. First of all, we have to rein in the size and cost of government. The debt is costing all of us today. It isn't just a burden on the future. It is a burden on us today. It drives up inflation and it is driving up costs. So we have to get control of our wasteful government spending and rein that in. So we're working on that. We may, for the very first time, have 12 budgets passed out of the House, the first time since I was a freshman in college, so many, many decades ago. So that's one big thing. We want to rein in the government spending and get it back in control and have a balanced budget. We have to cut back on regulations and help our businesses grow and thrive and prosper so that they can increase wages and provide more job opportunities, better job opportunities for folks like you and your family. And then we need to keep taxes low. We need to maintain the current tax policy so that families like yours don't experience a $2,400 tax increase. If we don't extend the tax cuts as they are today, then North Dakotans will suffer. That'll affect 24,000 family farms in North Dakota if we don't extend those tax cuts. So those, they're not sexy things. They're principles, big policies that we need to pursue over time. But I think those are the very essential components to helping to turn things around and helping families like you to help drive down costs and help increase opportunities and increase the amount of money you have in your pockets. So thank you for that question. I think we have one more.
Well, Julie, we have a question online from Lori Ann, and she says, "Why didn't you do some live town halls last week when Congress is in recess instead of?"
Thank you for that question online. I don't know if you all were able to hear it, but the question was, why didn't I do live in-person town halls while I was home last week? I had a busy schedule when I was home last week, and I did meet with a lot of different North Dakota groups. I met with the Standing Rock Tribal Council and took a lot of questions from folks there. Met with the Tribal Council in Spirit Lake, also visited with all kinds of people there. Met with the corn growers, probably 100 folks at that meeting. Met with the Bismarck Mandan Chamber. I took tons of questions from that group, also a large group. So I have been meeting in productive ways and having great conversations with North Dakotans throughout the state. But I simply, as it relates to town halls, I simply haven't found any other venue that allows me to talk to, like tonight, 3,000 North Dakotans, probably more than that because of Facebook and the online options, all at one time in a way that's really convenient for all the citizens who want to participate. It's productive. We've answered, a wide variety of questions, a lot of different subjects. Hopefully nobody feels like the hard topics weren't screened out or I avoided anything. I want to talk to these issues. I want you all to know how I feel and how I'm thinking. And I want to know what you're thinking. So I appreciate that we don't have the same approach to everything and we don't see everything the same way. I want to be honest and open with you and appreciate you being the same with me. And I think that this teletown halls are a great way to accomplish that. We'll be doing more of these. We'll do as many as we can. And I will continue to meet with folks here in my office in DC and throughout the state of North Dakota every month when I'm back and hitting the pavement, going to all the small and large towns throughout the state. So I look forward to ongoing conversations with all of you. All right, we have a few more minutes we'll be taking. So if you've got questions, please let us know. I've been through 2 mugs of coffee, not coffee, but water already, and I'm starting to feel it in my voice. So I'm going to run out of steam in my voice here before long, but we'll take a couple more questions. Thank you. Okay, Joe from Fargo.
Good evening, Congresswoman. Thank you for hosting this.
Thank you, Joe.
You mentioned that you are concerned about our security, and you were talking about security of the grid, and you clearly have a lot of expertise there. But there are many ways in which we worry about national security, and I have a straightforward question. When will the House begin hearings to investigate the recent breach of national security involving people and offices that should have known better?
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Thank you, Joe. So the national security is obviously a huge issue, as you indicated, and the information that's shared needs to be done so through the proper channels. This was an issue that really one of the committees in the House talked about today. There was a hearing, actually it wasn't in the House, but the Senate talked about this today. There was a Senate hearing, and I believe the CIA director, John Radcliffe, and the National Intelligence, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, spoke to this issue and said that most importantly, there wasn't any classified information discussed on that signal thread. That is a concern. Obviously, I'm concerned about it too. I've also talked to Jim Jordan, who's involved in the Judicial Committee in the House, and I know he's open to looking at this. But most importantly, I think that we have to focus on some of the other things that the White House has said too, that no classified material was sent on that thread. I do want to emphasize, though, that as President Trump promised, he is working to address national security issues in a global manner, and he's working to take decisive actions to fight the terrorists overseas, to root them out, and to hold them accountable, and to work for bringing peace. So, yeah, there was probably a mistake made here, but I think that we can be assured that they're going to be looking at all the channels that they're using in the future, making sure that they're using only the most secure, and that they're maintaining the focus on addressing the terrorism and the national security threats, both at home and away. Let's see. This will be the last question, and I can't read this one either. Chrisanna from Bismarck.
So, our state has the largest percent of people on Medicaid, including my son who has multiple disabilities. Hopefully someone shared with you historian KFYR TV recently had an interview. What will you do to protect Medicaid?
Thank you, Chrisanna. I'm really pleased to have this question as well, because this is an issue that I think is really, really important and that I've worked a lot on already in my few short months here. So let's go to the bottom line on this one first. It's really important for everyone to know that we will spend more money tomorrow on Medicaid than we're spending today. We are looking to make reforms to the program so that we can preserve it and protect it for the people who need it the most, like your son. Medicaid needs to be maintained for the people who it was intended to serve. I want to repeat that. That's my position. I feel really strongly about that. This program was intended for a very specific purpose, and we need to make changes to make sure that we can preserve and protect it for those folks. The way it's growing right now is unsustainable. So if we don't make some reforms, it's going to collapse. It will be unavailable long-term for people like your son. The Republicans in the House are looking at some very, I think, responsible reforms to preserve and protect this program, to make sure that the spending growth in this program is contained a bit, and to make sure that it is, like I said, available for those who need it and depend on it the most. So some of the things that the reforms that we're working on are to improve some of the inefficiencies with the program. There's two simple reforms, and as I've talked a lot about these, I've talked to the hospitals, talked to the long-term care associations throughout the state multiple times already to make sure that I'm understanding this program well, understanding how they're using it and how North Dakotans depend on it, and make sure that what I'm advocating for results in changes that are good for the program and the people that depend on it. The two simple reforms we're looking at involve adding audits to the program to make sure that those who are receiving the funds are those who are eligible for the program, meet the eligibility requirements that are established in law for the program. I don't think that this is a problem that North Dakota is having today. I don't think North Dakotans are participating in the program who shouldn't be, but this is a problem in other states, and it's costing the program hundreds of billions of dollars. We've identified just in this auditing the program to make sure that those receiving the benefits are those who qualify would save upwards of $100 billion in moving forward. So that's one of the reforms we're looking at. A second reform is to establish work requirements for people who are on the program who can work. Again, making clear that this is only for the able-bodied folks who are on the program of working age between ages 18 and 55. Those folks who can work should work. We should encourage them to work, and we should encourage them to work enough to get off the program long term, to be self-sustaining, and to support themselves. This is a program should be a hand up and a way to get people on their own. And so again, for those who can work, we're going to look at establishing work requirements for the program. That reform would save upwards of $300 billion. And so, you've heard about like a lot of, there's been an exaggeration about how much we're looking to save in this program. But those two reforms alone would get almost halfway to the total amount that was being looked at for the Energy and Commerce Committee by the House. And that there are many other areas that we're going to be looking at outside of Medicaid for savings. So again, really want to assure you that we're looking to be responsible in how we reform this program, to make sure that we're preserving and protecting it long term for the people who are depending on it and need it the most. So thank you, everybody. I think that's the last question. I just want to encourage you all, for anybody whose questions weren't answered, we will get back to you either directly. If you've left your number, we might call you directly, set up a time for you to talk to me directly, or we might do it online, or we might send you a letter, or perhaps we'll have some Q&As posted on our website. But our goal is to get back and answer all the questions that were asked. I want to reinforce that as your member of Congress, as your only voice here, it's a great honor for me. I take it very seriously, and I have high expectations for myself in meeting your needs as your representative here in Washington. Constituent services is my top priority. I want you to know whether you need help with a VA claim, whether you need help with Social Security issues or Medicare, any other federal issues. My team and I, we're here for you. We want you to call us, we want you to reach out, and we want to help you out. If you're visiting Washington and you want to be set up with some tours, you can tour the White House, you could tour the House, we can set you up with tours or tickets to some of the museums. Please reach out to us. We have some great insights here and can set you up to a wonderful experience. You can always visit my website at fedorchak.house.gov. All of our contact information is there for reaching out and contacting my office. So thank you for participating tonight. We'll be doing this again, hopefully very soon. Really appreciated the questions, the opportunity to share with you where I'm at. And most importantly, really am honored to be your representative here and look forward to working on your behalf here in Washington. Thank you. Have a great night.
The Access Live